The pin is gone, the pin is gone. YouTube, how are we doing? Today's video, we're going to give you the 3 movements that I favor for abs at the moment. Go through sort of how we do it, what we're looking for. So we shall just get stuck in. Exercise number 1, ab rope crunch. So the idea with this movement is we're rounding off as much as we can. So we're in flexion, and then we're squeezing. The benefit of this is essentially getting harder as we squeeze down. So when we run into this movement now, want to make sure we've got a good grip on here, whether you're using the rope, whether you're using the sling, however you prefer. Dropping ourselves onto the knees. So we don't want the triceps or arms to be doing any of the work. Obviously we want it to all be in the abs. So find a position where you can just stay nice and fixed, pop your head through. So this is your starting position. This is enough for the abs to be in neutral, a little bit stretched. We don't want to be going into this sort of position. Risk of injury at that stage, and it's just not needed. Pressure on the lower back. The mission of this is to contract the abs as hard as possible, not to stretch them as much as possible, as that is the next movement. Into this position we go. Take a big breath in first. Brace the core. So what I mean by that is tense your abs. And then imagine that you're breathing through a straw. And hold the squeeze. Coming up nice and slow. Now the reason why we take that breath out is 1, it's going to make you stronger, but 2, it actually helps you contract the muscles. So whenever we're trying to bodybuild, we want to try and squeeze those muscles as hard as we can. So actually, because of how we contract through our diaphragm and through our stomach, the way if we just actually breathe out, it's enabling us to squeeze that muscle, which is exactly what we want. So in terms of rep ranges, like with this, we are trying to make sure, like any movement, when we're trying to build muscle, that we are finding a place where we're pretty close to failure or at failure safely. And from a rep range point of view, I'd recommend at least getting yourself up to at least 10, because lower the reps, higher risk of injury. And so the overlooked thing when training abs is that we're still trying to achieve that progressive overload. Obviously that is an example set. And what I'd be doing is logbooking this, and you'll get to a point where obviously the weight stack will only go so high, no problem. Just keep working up those reps, or buy a gym pin and go from there. So in terms of this, it's a circuit style. So movement 1, 10 to 15 reps or beyond, but making sure you logbook, and that last rep is a big effort. It doesn't have to be absolute failure, but making sure it's intense. Not just sort of doing a little bit of this and expecting the abs to develop, all right? So we're gonna head over to movement 2. Movement number 2, so we're going straight from the rope crunch into hanging leg raise. So the hanging leg raise, again, we wanna find a range where we can get at least 10 reps. So a way to do this, if at first, there's not quite the strength just yet to go with a straighter leg, go with a bent leg. Once you can do 10 to 15 with the bent leg, move to a straight leg. When it comes to how high we're looking to go, the bars are quite handy. We're looking to break horizontal and just go a little bit higher. As I mentioned, movement 1, we're focusing really on how much can we contract. Whereas with this movement, we are allowing ourselves to stretch, but we still take a breath in so you don't compromise your back. So when we're in this position here, we breathe in and we breathe out. So with the hanging leg raise again, 10 to 15 reps. If you get to a point where you can do 15 reps, you have 2 options. 1, work those rep ranges up, or another option, if at 15 plus, I'd recommend this, is you can then begin to add resistance as well. Let me figure out how to do this from here. Not at the regular leg raise station. Just in between the feet. Leg raise. So then, straight into the final movement, which is a plank, but a plank with intention. So this, you won't progress the load over time, because if you've progressed the load on the movement 1, movement 2, by doing this for the same time every time, you're going into this more fatigued, so it's still technically progressive overload. So we're going into not just a plank, but an active plank. So what I mean by an active plank is we're not just trying to get through the plank and we're just in this position, we're just trying to get through it, like, oh, okay. What I want you to do is, with the contact points that you have on the floor, so your elbows and your feet, is try and bring them in together as hard as you can. So with the elbows, I'm driving them in, and with my toes, I'm driving them into the floor, and I'm actively tensing my abs as hard as I possibly can, and you should be shaking, whilst pulling that belly button in, and squeeze as hard as you can. So for myself with this movement, my target point is always 30 seconds. But gauge that on how you want to. Even doing that for 10 seconds at the end of that, perfect. In terms of how many rounds, build them up. I'm personally at 4 rounds, and I do it twice a week. Start with 1 round, see how you feel, recover, add them in, like anything in training. How much of a priority is it? It's also an awesome way to warm up, like pre-legs as well. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Drop it a like and a comment if you did. See you in the next one.